Hey fellas, is this meeting at 7:30, not 7? It's 7. Yeah, it's 7:30. Website 7:30. You're not on camera, right?
I was going to have to do it alone. So I opened my laptop. I started Googling. Can a minor disown their parents for medical neglect? Can I get free health care if I'm in foster care? It does juvenile detention include medical treatment? I'm not kidding. For a few minutes, I honestly considered committing a crime just bad enough to get me arrested, but not so bad I didn't want to wait for it. I figured jail had to have some.
Think and audio, they're different things.
Mayor, if you want to start.
Sure. I hope the fan I have blasting on me on my porch isn't too loud. But welcome everyone to our, what is this, Vic? The 4th or 5th Parker Avenue, but we've had plenty. But we want to hear from you because July 15th is our scheduled time to decide whether or not we're going to put bike lanes on Parker Avenue. So no decision has been made as yet, but we are here to hear from you And I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Luca, who will introduce our consultant, who will present our latest plans that incorporate all the things we've heard over the last couple months. Go ahead, Vin.
Thank you, Mayor. Let me just introduce a couple people first. From the Township Committee, I see we have Deborah Engel. I know Dean Daffis is looking to join us. I'm not sure if he's on. We got over 40 people already. We have our administrator, Patrick Weary. We have our engineer, Paul Kittner. We may have some other members of the engineering team, and we welcome them. I'm going to go over just a few things here, and then we're going to hear from Patrick Downey, who is the consultant that's been working on this project. So I'm going to talk about the meeting format and what we've done to date. Then we're going to hear the proposal. And then you'll hear from me again on some of the responses to the past comments and concerns that were raised. We'll do questions and answers and any public comment that people want to make, and then we'll do closing remarks. So just again, the meeting format, please make sure you're on mute. I will be monitoring it. If I see, someone's not, I'll be putting you on mute. If you want to speak later, please raise your hand. Will be recognized in the order that they come up on my screen for, your comments. We have a lot of people here. We're going to ask you to keep your questions or your comments to 2 minutes. We're going to recognize people who haven't spoken before someone gets a second chance. And we are recording this, and we will be posting it on the township website. So as the mayor said, we've had a few meetings. So let's talk. We've been talking about this for about 150 days. During that time, we've had 3 virtual community meetings in March. We've had 5 engineering, public works, and planning committee meetings, 8 township committee meetings where this was a topic, sometimes for a while and sometimes just briefly. We've received dozens of emails, people saying they're for and against it. We did receive an online petition against the bike lanes. It was signed by about 250 people. And we held an in-person meeting with about a half dozen Parker Avenue residents back in May at their request. So what's up next? We have our June 24th meeting, which is tonight. And whatever we hear tonight, we'll take down, and then we'll meet again on July 9th, our Engineering, Public Works, and Planning Committee. That's at 8 o'clock in the morning, and it's by Zoom, and it is a public meeting. And we'll, see if there's any fine tuning that needs to get done. And then on July 15th, as the mayor said, we'll be making a decision to proceed or not to proceed. And that meeting's at 7:30. It's a hybrid meeting, so it's in person, in town hall, and you can also join and participate by Zoom. If we do decide to proceed, construction bids will be publicized and the contract awarded in the summer. And the construction should take place by the fall of this year. So let me move quickly into our presenter. Patrick, you got me a little nervous. I didn't see you as at 7:30, but I'm glad to see you here. Patrick is our engineer from Dynamic Traffic. He's been is a consultant that works with us on a number of projects around town. And Patrick will be presenting some revised plans. And Patrick, take it away.
Sure. Thanks, Vic. Good evening, and good evening, everybody else. Thanks for coming out. Once again, Patrick Downey with Dynamic Traffic consultant for the township. Excited to be working on Parker Avenue and assisting the township with these types of projects. I'm going to share my screen now. Let me know if everyone can see this when it comes up. Can everyone see that plan?
Yes.
So as we walk through this plan set, sheet by sheet, block by block, a lot of it will probably look familiar to some of you who attended any of the earlier meetings or some of those EPW meetings. But I'll give a quick overview of the design for each block. with some special emphasis paid to any changes that have taken place since the original iteration of the plan, based on.
Patrick, excuse me, Patrick, is there any
Yeah.
way to make yourself louder?
Sure, let me see.
And
I
if
can always
you
just talk louder.
enlarge
That
this
can
in
always help.
some degree.
How about that? Is that any better?
No,
No.
no.
You sound like you're in a bit of an echo.
Interesting. 1 second.
Okay. Somebody said you're loud and clear, so I'm particularly interested in the clear part.
All right. How's that? Is that clear
Good,
at least?
good.
All right.
Not clear.
How's that? Are we good to proceed, or are people still having trouble hearing?
Yeah, go ahead.
All righty. So on your screen right now should be the latest plan. Like I said, we'll go block by block, but I'll pay some special attention to any changes that have taken place as a result of the feedback that's been received to date at those meetings that Vic listed at the top of the meeting. You'll see here the overall project limits, full length of Parker Avenue, all the way from Maplewood Avenue to Irvington Avenue. Flipping through sheet 2, this is really just a preview of all the improvements used throughout this plan. You'll see these features used in various locations, bike lane markings, sharrows in some locations, some enhanced bicycle facilities at signalized intersections in the form of what we call bike boxes, and some extension markings through critical intersections, channelized turn lanes, etc., along with the standard METCD signage, crosswalk striping, etc. We'll start at our western limit and walk our way eastbound. I'll flip in a little few clicks here so everyone can see that a little more clearly. So starting at the west end, I think one of the main updates that has taken place throughout this plan is there was some discussion previously about travel lane widths for motor vehicles. Some locations had 10 feet, some had 11 feet, and we went back and forth on that. The resolution on this latest plan is that wherever there is room available to provide 11-foot travel lanes, that has been done. It's a little bit more comfortable for drivers. In some locations where the road is at its narrowest, including this western limit here that you see on your screen, they remain 10 feet, but everywhere there's room to provide 11 has been provided. You'll see at a number of unsignalized locations where crosswalks are currently missing to cross Parker Avenue, they've been added, such as here at Buckingham Garden Parkway. And you'll see the bike lane markings on both sides of the street. 5-foot minimum bike lanes have been provided throughout with enhanced green markings, typically oriented at the beginning and end of intersection openings to ensure that the bike lanes are visible for vehicles turning on and off of Parker Avenue. Moving down the road to the east, you'll see here the signalized intersection at Valley Street, front and center. One of the changes, as I alluded to previously, is to enhance bike facilities at that signalized intersection. You'll see that in a few forms, namely the bike boxes on the Parker Avenue approaches. That is the L panhandle shaped green features you see on the eastbound and westbound approaches. Purpose of a bike box like that, which I'm sure some of the more avid cyclists who may be on the call are aware, is to allow cyclists to get in front of the line of vehicles waiting at the red light so that they can actually make a left turn without having to weave through traffic as it's moving. So it's a good way to prioritize bicycles over motor vehicles at signalized intersections. Additionally, through the intersection, you'll see the extension markings, the green dashed, almost like a white crosswalk dashed marking, but it's green for the bike lanes. Again, illustrating for vehicles moving through the intersection that bikes are expected in that location, similar to how crosswalk functions for pedestrians. Moving to the east of Valley Street, you'll see the 11-foot travel lanes pick up as we move toward the high school. I'll flip to the next sheet. As you'll see, bike lanes carry through this area. What we've identified through our initial conversations, public input, and through on-site observations of the high school operation, these two intersections at the front of the high school are really critical for pedestrian and bicycle crossings. So we've looked to enhance those crosswalks to the extent that we can. New upgraded high visibility striping. Additionally, both of these locations are now going to be enhanced with RRFBs. Those are rapid rectangular flashing beacons. Essentially, it's a push button actuated flashing enhancement of the pedestrian crossing signs to make the motorists more aware that there's a pedestrian looking to cross at this time. This standard cross-section is going to carry through a lot of these western to central blocks with 11-foot travel lanes bordered by 5-foot or greater bike lanes.
5 foot or wider.
Moving down to the east, you'll see the next signalized intersection along the corridor at Prospect Street. Once again, we have the bicycle extension markings through the intersection, the bike boxes approaching the intersection on the two Parker Avenue approaches, eastbound and westbound. Additionally, not pictured here since it's not a physical improvement, but we're actually looking to make a signal timing improvement at that intersection in the form of a leading pedestrian interval. Essentially, it's just a timing change to give the pedestrians crossing the street a few second head start on the vehicles that run at the same time, just to help prioritize them and make them more visible to motorists. Carrying down the road here through Summit, more intersections getting crosswalk upgrades, crosswalks being installed where they are missing. You'll see new curb ramps on either side of that new crosswalk, north-south across your screen. And similarly down at Richmond Avenue, again, just maintaining the existing pedestrian signs. Some of them are, traditional pedestrian signs. Some closer to the school are school crossings. So those have been maintained or enhanced with new crosswalk striping.
This is that Parker Avenue. Yeah.
Again, moving east, you'll see very similar treatments. A lot of these unsignalized intersections have a similar orientation, whether they are T intersections or four-leg intersections, in which the crosswalks cross the side streets, and there's a single crossing at most of them to cross Parker Avenue. Norfolk Avenue in the middle is another one where it was missing, where the missing crosswalk to cross Parker would be added. At the eastern side of your screen, all the way to the right, you'll see the intersection of Suffolk and Burr. That's, some of you may know, the recently installed always stop control improvement has already been implemented there. That was originally part of this plan, but based on some very good public feedback, it was brought to our attention that really didn't need the bike lanes to function. So that traffic calming improvement was accelerated, has already been installed and is operating well. Moving east between this block, Suffolk and Burr, to the next one, Burroughs and Highland. This is one of the more unique blocks, and this is one of the changes since the original iteration of the plan. In front of the Maplewood Jewish Center, we have maintained the parking along the north side of the street, so for traffic heading westbound. In that location, it was our understanding parking was a little bit more at a premium, so it's been maintained in that one block. So the change in terms of the bicycle facility would be to transition from a dedicated bike lane to a shared lane with the Sharrow markings for that one block only in the westbound direction. There's still sufficient roadway width to maintain the bicycle lane in the eastbound direction through that block, though, I would note. Moving east at the intersection of Highland and Burroughs itself, you'll see not only are the crosswalks being refreshed, they're actually being straightened out a bit. The crosswalk on the eastern side of the intersection we found to be at a pretty large skew angle, had some visibility issues. So we think straightening that out and building new curb ramps will make that a better crossing than it is today. And then we have some more of our traditional unsignalized intersection treatments here. Moving down the east for Union, Warren, and Hudson. Through these intersections, fairly similar treatment, 11-foot lanes, 5-foot bike lanes. Again, just to reiterate, bike lanes enhanced with the green background markings at the front and end of each intersection for the benefit of turning motorists, and making sure there's a crosswalk provided to cross Parker at each location. Ball Place was another one where the curb ramps and missing crosswalk would be installed. For Boynton Avenue East, this was one of the larger topics of discussion through some of our earlier meetings, and there's a lot to take in here, so I'll just walk you through it from left to right. The intersection with Boynton Avenue, again, as it is signalized, has the bike boxes and the bicycle extension markings added, both through the intersection and through the channelized right turn lanes that already exist. Those are locations where vehicles might be turning at slightly higher speed than at a traditional intersection because they are channelized. So we thought those extension markings were important there to delineate the potential of bikes being in the area. East of Boyden Avenue, when you look at our parking counts that really set the stage for a lot of the improvements contemplated here, overall parking utilization throughout Parker Avenue was fairly low, even though it is permitted. But even as you can see here in the underlying aerial imagery, these blocks on the eastern end of the road were some of the more heavily parked streets, both based on the density of residential dwelling units. There's Borden Park to the south, and there's also some commercial businesses mixed throughout. Based on that, this is the one section, aside from the block in front of the Jewish Center, where the on-street parking has been maintained. And since we're going to maintain it, we actually want to provide a better design for it than what is there today. It's generally undelineated for most of the area down here. So what we've done here is actually delineated the parking area with the little T elbow markings you see to define the front and end of the designated parking areas, more clearly define the width of that parking lane against the curb, and the remaining 10-foot travel lanes for motor vehicles and for bicycles. Again, this is one of those locations I alluded to at the beginning, where ordinarily we would provide the 11-foot lane, but based on the width available and the minimum required for the parking lane, this is one section that does have the 10-foot lanes. Through this area, since there are not the dedicated bike lanes, as you saw in the western blocks, we have the shared lane, sharrow markings. Those are the bicycle markings in the lane with the arrow designated where the bicycle is permitted to travel, as a reminder to motorists. Some of these intersections down here, you'll see some additional striping in the vicinity of the intersections. That's called daylighting at the intersections. It's really making sure that since parking is permitted in these areas, that vehicles do not park too close to the intersections so they don't obstruct the sight lines. So that's the purpose of that striping. It's existing at the Orchard Road intersection and being maintained and being added at the front. Just to conclude our corridor here, again, the on-street parking has been maintained all the way to the east to Cherry Place. The daylighting to ensure sightlines are clear has been added to those unsignalized intersections. Same crosswalk enhancements as the rest of the plan, just a slightly different bicycle treatment in order to respect that on-street parking activity that does exist. And then as we move to the very eastern limit with Irvington Avenue, this is generally consistent with the original plans. It's just transitioning back to the existing intersection design that exists approaching Irvington Avenue with the 2 lanes. So at that point, the bicycle facilities would end as they would do today. So I believe that's an overview of everything. I think I hit all the key changes. Dick, I don't know if you have anything else you want me to touch on or any questions for me. Otherwise, I'm happy to answer any other questions there may be.
So Patrick, we're going to hold off on questions to you. If you could stop sharing.
Yep.
I think you covered it all. Thank you. We probably just might need that again for questions. And then just to alert Paul Kittner and Patrick Weary, if when questions start, if you guys have answers to some of these questions, feel free to jump in. I'm going to just run through some of responses that from our previous meetings, we had a number of questions. And so I'm going to go through those. Some of these we've talked about before, but it's going to make it a little clearer again so everyone understands before we get into questions how people are going to be able to live there and you know, and continue to do what they need to do. So in the past, there was questions asked about curbside leaf collection. So there'll be no change in the current practice. People will still put leaves on the curb. Our DPW will have to prioritize Parker when they get to this section. Of course, you follow a schedule. You're not supposed to put leaves out until 1 week before the collection date. But that's how we're going to do that. Same thing with snow. No change to the current practice. We'll be doing snow removal curb to curb. Jitney stops. We have 4 jitney stops on that affect this. 2 are off of Parker. 2 are on Parker. We're going to change the stops so that they're off Parker. Deliveries and work trucks. So fuel delivery, yes, you can park there and deliver fuel. UPS, FedEx, yes. Amazon, yes. You'll be able to park there, jump out, deliver, take the picture of the package on your porch, get back in the car or truck and take off. Postal, same thing, deliver. The only thing here is that the carriers will not be able to park their cars on park their trucks on Parker they'll have to park on the, and deliver mail. So they'll have to park on a side street and work that way. But for single deliveries of parcels, from from the post office, yes. Pizza, yes. Any kind of food. DoorDash, yes. PSE&G, they have to work, either outside. It goes for Verizon too, or, Comcast. If they have to work outside or inside, with, running wires or ladders, yes. The first aid squad, any emergency vehicle will be able to park in the bike lanes, without any problem, yes. Here we got a cut. Please mute yourself, when you come on. For no's, construction vehicles, particularly those are going to be out there a long time. We're going to ask you to have them use their driveway. Same thing with landscapers. Landscapers, you're going to have to be on an adjacent street. They do that now. We have streets where there's no parking, and they park on adjacent streets and work their way over to the grass. And then we have some situations where we'll do parking with prior approval from the Maplewood Police Department. If you're having your driveway paved or some concrete work and you need to have a vehicle parked out there for some period of time, just let the police department know. Same thing with a roofer. If you can't get the roofer here, it's in the driveway, but if you can't do that, again, let the police know. Removing a tree, same thing. Chipper can be out there. What we'll do is the police will give you permission to do that, and then we'll notify that the bike lane has some closure there because of the work being done. Parking's a big issue. So right now in our Maplewood Code of Ordinance, we have parking prohibited in certain areas. So here's an example where you have no parking here, 8 to 10. This is not Maplewood, by the way, but this is limited parking, and then except by permit. So this is how we will do the side streets off of Parker that currently have prohibition of parking or only allow parking between certain times. And we'll go in there and we'll change this language a little bit, but this is the language pretty much. You can't go in there and park unless, and these are what's the exemptions: a vehicle owned and operated on a regular basis by a resident. So this would be, a Parker Avenue resident. They will be able to get a permit, service delivery vehicles, emergency vehicles, and what have you. The application for parking permits is made through the township clerk. And then you would be able to park on that side street. It might say 2 hours during school hours. With that permit, you'd be able to park out there all day long. But you wouldn't be able to park overnight, and you wouldn't be able to park too close to a stop sign. You have to be 25 feet back. And intersection, same thing or 50 feet from a stop sign, 25 feet from an intersection. And everything else, you can't park, in the driveway, things like that. The way this works is you go online on our website under Township Clerk Parking. Who's responsible for the parking? Well, the clerk manages the applications and maintains the permit and the pass holder databases. That's given to the police, and the police enforce the parking regulations. It tells you how to fill out the parking pass. You go on here, you just punch in your address, the type of application you're looking for. It gives you all the stuff. You'd be able to put up the car, the make of the car, the license plate, and then you would get a confirmation. This is free. Residential parking in this regard is free. And we do this by license registration. We no longer issue a permit. In years past, we used to issue a permit that was on the outside, on the inside of a back window. We no longer do that. It's based on license plates. The clerk keeps the list. We give it to the police, and the police use the list to enforce the permit parking. So we are moving to, right now it's done manually. We're moving to do license plate readers so that we'll have a better flow of doing that. But right now, we're able to keep up this system, and it works. You'll have no limit to the number of permits per household. And if guests need to park on a side street during a prohibited time, you'd be able to notify the police of the make and model of the car. A couple other things, or a few other things. somebody mentioned, are you gonna be putting these bollards up and down the Parker Avenue? The answer is no. We will be doing some of these at Columbia High School. So that stretch between Academy and Valley will have some of these up. The Maplewood Police, we spoke about this with the chief. They will have the authority to allow parking in the bike lanes in cases of emergencies and for special events, Christmas, Hanukkah, New Year's Eve day. We know that people have guests and families, and so these would be times that the police would allow parking in the bike lanes, and we would do nixle alerts, which the police do, and they would notify the public that parking is allowed. It's going to be rare, but we will allow that going forward. We asked the consultants to do a four-way stop control analysis for Highland Avenue and Burroughs Way and the intersection with Parker. They came back and said the traffic there did not satisfy the warrants for a four-way stop. So that was the other one they looked at was Orchard, but Orchard really didn't meet the flow of traffic coming on Orchard Street. So they said that one too doesn't really work. We were asked about examples of bike lanes in other municipalities. Newark, okay, so Newark's a city, we know that, but they have 13 miles of bike lanes. 10 are dedicated bike lanes and use sharrows, and then they have another 3 miles of shared paths. Union City, here's a message from the mayor saying that, he's creating bike lanes throughout the city. And they talks about why he's doing that. You can see that there. There's some other towns, Brick Township. I was there Sunday taking a look at this. This is a fairly busy road. It runs along the Matitaconk River, houses on both sides. And there's a dedicated bike lane on each side of the road with no parking for the entire stretch from the border with Point Pleasant Borough to down at roughly Route 88. So it's pretty far down. Hoboken, Jersey City, New Brunswick. The other one we looked at was Fairhaven. They're in Monmouth County, has a population of 6,000. They established bike lanes in 2020 on River Road. It's the busiest road in Fairhaven. It's a main street. It connects Red Bank to Rumson and is used to access the Seabright Ocean Beach. I was there on Friday. It carries about 12,000 vehicles per day. Speed limit 30, 35. Most of the road is dedicated bike lane, as you see here. And this was interesting because they had a storm the night before, and I think it's Thursday night, and they put the debris. They were told that morning to put the debris in the bike lane and to get picked up by the town. I did walk along here and spoke to 2 residents who live on the south side. Both of them support the bike lane. The bike lane is about 5 years old. They said there's, it's generally established now. People are used to it. They do have driveways that they bring their cars in. They said there was really not a problem for the parking. I did speak to another person who lives a block off. She's actually someone who monitors the municipal website. And she said that although it was pretty controversial when they did this, it was a vote, I think, of 3-2 on their governing body. Now people are pretty aware of it now. She said it's sort of muscle memory. Everybody knows there's a bike lane there, and it works for them. So I believe that answers almost all the questions from the last few meetings. And we're now going to move into hands. We had Larry's been had his hand up from the very beginning. Larry, you did put on the chat about Columbia High School. We have come up with a plan for Columbia High School. It includes Academy, North Terrace, Kensington, and a small area on Valley for drop-offs And we'll be presenting that again to the principal of the school and the superintendent of the school. We'll also be talking to the parents and to the students. So that is something we're committed to doing. And so we're working on that. Did I answer your question? Is that why you dropped off?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Well, kind of. I mean, it'll be answered when I know what the plan is. But,
Okay.
I'll see you
All right.
later.
Gregory.
Hi there. My name is Gregory Osborne. Grew up here in Maplewood. And one of the things that came to mind was inclusion and an inclusive community behind this plan. I believe that if we have one bike lane, we're excluding a lot of families that live on the other side of Maplewood, on the other side of Springfield Avenue. So my thought is to connect how do I say? I want to connect all of the parks. That way, students that are coming from the middle schools, students that are coming from the elementary schools, they have a safe way to ride home or get to the parks after schools. I really don't think that Parker Avenue, even with stop signs, even with lights, would be safe for any child or adult riding. And here's the reason why. I work from my house. I look outside my window daily. I live below Boyden Avenue. I have seen 3 16-wheeler trucks drive through our neighborhood within 1 month. I've also seen the buses run through the neighborhood. If the buses are coming down the neighborhood and we have bike lanes on both sides, those buses have to drive in the center of the road, like on the line itself. And that is very dangerous. So I would love for you guys to take a pause, think about making the bike lanes inclusive, think about connecting community versus separating community, and understanding that we have to put our actions where our mouth is. We believe that Maplewood, New Jersey is a diverse and inclusive community. So we need to act that way and make decisions based off of that mission. Thank you.
Thank you. Will?
Hi, I'm Will Field. I live basically on Summit and Midland, and my son goes to the South Mountain YMCA. And for the last, I'd say 4 to 5 years, whenever it's nice out, I bike down Parker. Mostly I bike because it's a lot more convenient than driving. It alleviates parking. I don't know how pick up and drop off at the YMCA specifically would even work if everybody drove. It's a lot safer in terms of pedestrians. When I'm biking and I see pedestrians, I have more time to stop. I've also noticed on the occasions where I've been walking how much exhaust there is from all the way from Valley all the way up to Prospect. My son and I are choking on exhaust from all of the cars. I think bike lanes would be it would be a huge safety improvement. Um, I would feel a lot more comfortable. I've had some close calls because there are drivers who are not paying attention. And I think having both the bike lanes and the signs would just alert drivers to pay attention. And I guess that's pretty much all I have to say. But if anyone has questions, I've been biking down here for like I said, every day that it's nice out for the last 4 years. So I have a lot of experience with this stretch. Thanks.
Thank you. Tony?
The audio up and I'll even give you my video. Yes, thank you for the floor. I have, of course, written and spoken on this issue to you folks. I am a bicyclist. I like bike lanes. And I was wanted to see what the plan was. And unfortunately, I'm not really convinced that this is the best place for a bike lane. I still think that Elmwood is far superior. It's much less traffic. I also looked at, the picture, Vic, that you showed of Fairhaven, of a busy road. That looked like a much more open, not quite as densely populated road compared to Parker. I mean, of course, maybe, one picture only tells 1,000 words, not may not be the complete picture of what that road is. But looking at, looking at this plan, looking at basically, what Will was talking about with fumes, putting the bike lane is not going to decrease the number of fumes. It's going to put more bicyclists, I think, in harm's way. I think there's a much better I still think there's a much better alternative to basically putting this a couple blocks south on Elmwood and Oakland. I think people will be a lot safer and a lot saner. Thanks.
Thank you. Robert?
Yep. Hi, I am Robert Marshall. I live on Parker. I actually live near Burr, where we put in what was referred to as the traffic enhancement. And I just want to state unequivocally how against bike lanes I am. Not because of CLC or snow removal or chippers, simply about body count. So I want to take you to this enhancement that we have here on Parker that just got put in on Burr, right? Got put in on December 19th. There was a crash not 3 months later, right? It was the night of the Parker play. So maybe a bit more traffic, but there was a crash. Now, if that was still a young driver, which was the cause of the problem, and they hit a child and that child was dead, then does that give us a moment of pause? Because I can't see how this bike lane on a dangerous road makes the road less dangerous for anyone. When we talked about bollards, so yes, bollards work, but we're only going to put them down on the intersection near the school. Why is that? Why are the lives at the school more important than kids who are cycling further up the street? And again, I'm not talking hyperbole. I'm talking to someone who was delighted that there was traffic enhancement and then shocked that there was a crash less than 3 months later, right? The assumption that muscle memory is going to be what gets our drivers to drive slowly on Parker is ridiculous. And to say that we have gone away, taken some time, given some thought to it, and now we're going to paint them green. We're going to make them wider, but they're not going to be consistently wider all the way down the street. And in fact, they're not going to be consistently on the street, right? We have Midland down there, significantly less traffic. If we want bike lanes, why don't we divide the two up? You get the traffic calming down on Parker, great. But what you're saying now, and let's be entirely transparent, that it is the bodies and the body count of the bikers that we are holding in no regard and calling that traffic calming. And I've not heard anything about that at all. Like, we've spent at least 10 minutes talking about what happens when people put their trees in the bike lane. What about kids that we're saying they now have a safe bike lane to use? How are we protecting them? And not just at the high school, but all the way through Parker. I don't understand, and I hope that someone has an actual verbal answer to this question, right? Like, what is the measures that are going to help? We've talked about other towns that are also instituting bike lanes. Great for them. I would like to wait for those bike lanes to be up and to get the feedback. Can we wait a year till we find out whether it works? I've heard about how well this works in Sweden. Well, as you can tell by my accent, I grew up in Europe. And what I can tell you about places like Sweden, like places like Amsterdam, is the fact that the insurance of every car driver is written. Every car driver, every bus driver, every driver is written. You hit a cyclist, you pay for everything. So from learning how to drive, they're taught that bike lanes are everywhere, right? From starting to drive, they're taught that, hey, you even graze a bicyclist, you will pay for them to be well, any time off work, anything of those. The Dutch are in total fear of hitting a biker. The folks in New Jersey are not. So
Robert, I need you to wrap up.
Okay, so I guess that's it. I'm just like, can someone who can state that they are considerate and caring about the lives of our kids in this bike lane speak just to that point? That would be great.
Thank you. Craig.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, 5 questions, and I'll just ask the questions. Did you say that 250 people submitted an online petition opposing the bike lane on Parker Avenue. Question number 2, did the township conduct a traffic engineering or other expert survey of what streets are optimal for a complete streets implementation of bike paths in Maplewood, or was Parker Avenue chosen on another basis? Question number 3, other than a high number of automobiles parked.
We can't hear you. I can't hear you now.
Question number 3, other than a high number of automobiles parked on Parker between Boyden and Irvington on the date of the aerial survey, what distinguishes that segment of Parker Avenue from the balance of Parker Avenue in terms of other characteristics such as physical characteristics, demographics, traffic patterns, etc. Question number 4, previously you stated that the cost of implementing the bike lane on Parker Avenue was approximately $270,000 plus about, and this is a little ambiguous, about 20 to 30,000 for engineering. Does the changes on this plan materially change the cost estimate? And last question, number 5, Maplewood has, I think, close to 200 to 300 signs throughout Maplewood in green marking, quote, bike paths, and various streets have other bike path markings and sharrows, but numerous signs on lots of streets actually all throughout Maplewood. Has the township committee or the engineers or experts studied how well those bike paths work or don't work before proposing this bike path on Parker Avenue? Last, just an observation, I thought the efforts to address parking by the residents is very thoughtful. Thank you.
Josh.
Thank you. I want to apologize for not turning my camera on. I had cataract surgery this afternoon, so I'm going to spare everybody having to look at the plastic cup that's taped over my eye at the moment. I'm here because I know that you're keeping a tally, and I wanted to register my opposition to installing unsafe bike lanes on Parker Avenue. Painted only bike lanes, particularly when they are not heavily used, do not reduce car speeds. And so if the whole point of this is traffic calming, I simply don't understand that. My concern is that the township is creating the aura of safety by installing so-called bike lanes that will invite bicyclists into unfortunate and dangerous encounters with vehicles. I also wanted to express concern about the level of research that has been done on this project. There was an open records request that produced very little documentation from the consultant. And here's one example where I think additional research would have been helpful. I've already shared with the Township Committee that on a beautiful spring afternoon, I counted all of 14 bicycles on Parker in a 90-minute period following school dismissal. Similarly, a neighbor of mine happened to count exactly the same number of bicycles going to school down Parker one morning. And I'm finding all of this very confusing because when I walk by the high school, I actually see a lot more bicycles locked up during the day. So where do these bicycles come from? What routes do they use to get to the high school? I'm concerned that the Township Committee did not ask the engineering professionals to actually survey these bike riders or school families or even train commuters to find out where they're coming from and what routes they're using. So installing painted-only bike lanes does not calm traffic, and it may not even serve the purpose of getting students to the high school. I also want to say I had understood that we were going to get a plan for the high school this evening. And so that we would understand in the totality what the situation is going to look like, because that's the big problem that we have, those of us who live on Parker, particularly close to the high school. So I'm wondering, will that be presented at a community meeting prior to the township committee voting on this plan?
Okay, are you done, Josh?
Yeah. Yes.
Thank you. John Speck? John, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Is it my turn?
Hi.
Yes, John Speck.
Hello, Tess. Can you hear me? Hello. Can you hear me now? Yes. Hey, friends and neighbors, thank you. And thanks, Township, for doing such thorough job and discussion of this. I really appreciate it. And I understand that the town still seems pretty divided. New Jersey leads the country in pedestrian deaths, 221 in 2024. We're on track for that same amount here in 2025. Federally funded research shows infrastructure improvements, including bike lanes, improve pedestrian outcomes in accidents. My question is, why do cars need to go 40, 50 miles an hour on Parker Avenue? Why? So you can save 3 minutes getting to Stop and Shop? Come on. And then the other thing is the guys of the parking. You know, like, I think you guys have done a great job here compromising to let people park. Bikers know how to get around parked cars. It's not a big deal if cars are parked in the bike lanes. People right now, riding to the high school in particular, they go up the sidewalk. You know, they use the street, they go on the sidewalk. I myself use the street a lot of the time. I take my family on the street. We don't go for long stretches on Parker because it's dangerous. We need to slow the traffic down. And I think as it's proven on Prospect Avenue, those wonderful flexible delineators, they slow traffic down. Let's see more of those. I like these plans for bike lanes, but I want to see a few more flexible delineators. We back our car onto Parker. We live on Parker, right at Orchard Road. I'd love to see some flexible delineators by my house. That would be great. You know, can we get some more of those just sprinkled at a few more intersections on Parker? We could go a long way to improving safety and bettering bicycles outcomes on if we could just slow people down. The center stop signs are the signs that say stop for pedestrians in the center of the lane. I see those working. I see those slowing people down. And guess what? Cars speed up and they go into the parking spot to speed around them. So narrow that even further, make pedestrian outcomes better, make it easier for people to walk their dogs, for jogging. Let's prioritize our most vulnerable road users by slowing people down on Parker Avenue, please. And thank you.
John Rebarsic.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, very good. I have like a dozen different things. Quickly, 95% of the people who are calling are not on Parker Avenue at all. Right? How did South Orange receive a letter in the email rather than we did before we even were able to show it? That will not be put into the excess notes because I can't park on the street anymore. After spending about $10,000 a year on my lawn, why am I not letting my garden people come to the house to do work on my house? Why has the township come to my home approximately one day prior to the Zoom meeting and asked me if the bike lanes would be a great idea? Also, we have multiple things here. are there now going to be 2 officers at the stop sign down by the high school because?
So if I just hit my
noise-
little hand thing, I'll be in the queue to speak.
Go ahead, John.
Are there gonna be 2 police officers down by the high school to stop kids from going on the stop and go for the kids? Now, are we gonna have ins and outs for our police at our I guess our skirts? Is anybody gonna be saying who's got the ins and outs? The study was done saying you have more than 100 bicycles. Actually, there's only about 90 at all. This is going to cost the township monies. Who's going to be used when there's a problem with the government and when we have laws setting up that now being violated? And then also, why are our taxes not being decreased considering we can't even park where we want to park? Beyond that, that's about it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Alex Pine.
Hello, thank you for having me. I am a father of 2, and I regularly ride my bike on Parker Avenue to take my 2 young children to the YMCA at daycare. When I do this, I'm forced to ride on the sidewalk because Parker Avenue is too dangerous because the cars are driving too quickly and there are too many of them. I've almost hit several people on the sidewalk. I do not want to ride on the sidewalk. I know that's not allowed, but Parker Avenue is just too dangerous. So I heartily approve of the addition of new bike lanes to make them safer for myself and for my children. Some people have asked, why this particular location would be good for bike lanes. Why not somewhere else? And I think this location is good for bike lanes because that's where the children are. You have the high school and you have the YMCA. Hundreds of children are there every single day, and so this is a perfectly natural starting place for bike lanes. There are many other places that deserve bike lanes that do not yet have them, as one person pointed out earlier. But let's not let perfect be the enemy of the good, and let's get a bike lane where we can, and then if it works well, we can expand it to other places. Mr. Marshall, I believe it was, asked how this could possibly make things safer. And the mechanism, I believe, is by making the area of the street that's clearly delineated for cars narrower. When there's less space shown for cars, it makes drivers psychologically slow down. When you have a big open road, people speed up. When you have a narrow road, even if it's just narrow from paint, it makes cars slow down. Slower cars mean fewer fatalities when cars hit people, which means safer streets. And when the cars are safer, or when the streets are safer, it will induce demand for biking, and more people will start to bike, creating a virtuous cycle of reducing the number of cars on the road and reducing their speed. So in conclusion, I really think that Parker is a great natural spot to start for bike lanes, but it shouldn't be the end of it. And I would feel much safer if they were there. Last thing I might add is that if it succeeds in this manner of slowing down cars, this will also reduce the noise from the cars. And a quieter street is a more desirable street to live on. And this actually might cause housing prices to increase on the street. Personally, I would love it if bike lanes were installed on my street because I believe they would cause my house value to go up. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Charlie Hamill.
Sorry, finding the button for audio. All right, just a few questions here, 4 of them. I'm actually not clear on the primary purpose of the plan. Is it to calm traffic or provide bike lanes? If calming traffic, why not consider less impactful techniques like speed humps, along with all the traffic light and crosswalk markings your current plan includes? If bike lanes, why not a less busy street? Secondly, you have data on the number of vehicles that travel in Parker. Do you know how many cyclists use Parker? Do you know how many parked cars on Parker that'll be displaced onto the cross streets? And does this high impact plan that addresses the cyclists justify the impact on residents? Thirdly, does this plan include converting the cross streets to one way? If so, have you considered the increased traffic jams and crossings at the intersection of Parker and the cross streets? For instance, North Terrace. Residents of cross streets will be forced into the intersection, even if they need to go the other way. And fourthly, will parking permits restrict Parker Avenue residents to only certain streets, or they have access to all of any of the cross streets? That's it.
Okay. I'll just give you two quick answers. We're not doing one-way cross streets. Parking permits, you park anywhere.
Okay, thank you.
Alex Pine.
I already spoke. I'm
I'm sorry, you already spoke. Nancy.
What happened to me?
Thank you. This wasn't me.
No, Nancy. Jonathan, you're next. Not Nancy.
Okay, I'm Nancy, right?
Yes.
I I want to talk about an issue regarding logistics that I think only Charlie briefly mentioned earlier. I've brought this up a few times during my comments, and it has not been addressed yet. Really concerned on, I live on the corner of Briarcliff and Parker, and I'm very concerned about the effect of the plan on the side streets. And as far as I know, people who live on the side streets have not received any notice about how this is going to affect their lives. And I can give you some examples as a resident of Briarcliff about what happens now. Briarcliff is a very narrow street, and there are a lot of people parking already on the street because a lot of us have quite short driveways. So when there are people parking on both sides of Briarcliff, which happens every day, there's only enough space for one car to go down Briarcliff. You can't get a car going both ways. And often the visibility from Parker onto Briarcliff is very difficult. So there have been many near accidents of people coming off of Parker and nearly hitting someone coming off of Briarcliff. Just happened to my daughter a month ago. She called the police, and for a while, a day, people stopped parking at the end of Parker, and then that went back to normal. So I'm really concerned about that particular issue. I'm also concerned about these permits where people who live on Parker are being given these unlimited permits to park on the side streets, and therefore then now making the side streets even busier than they are and clogging up traffic more. Also, how are we going to tell the difference between who's a Parker resident and who's a side street resident if these permits are being given to Parker residents for parking on the side streets, and then the side street residents are also allowed to park on in front of their homes? I don't think that these issues have been properly considered in the plan. It hasn't been addressed in the plan at all, as far as I've seen. And I think it's a big issue that I would appreciate some thought going forward. Just finally, I have heard residents talk about the reasons that they think the town is putting bike lanes on Parker Avenue or anywhere in the town, but I actually haven't heard that from the town itself. Why are we doing this? I have not heard a reason for why bike lanes, particularly on Parker, are necessary. I've heard the whole thing, we want complete streets, but that really isn't a reason for putting a bike lane on Parker. So that's it. Thank you very much.
Jonathan Poor.
Hi, well, yeah. Well, before I say this, I'm Jonathan Poor, 30-year resident, and proud to add to my resume, bike bus volunteer. Yeah, and for all those 30 years, I've been riding my bike all over town, and it's about time we're doing this. And yes, complete streets is a reason to do this. It's because there are already hundreds of cyclists using Parker, and we owe it to them and to pedestrians and to cars to make the whole thing complete. In other words, to make it safer for everyone. And the way it works is, according to studies, is that if you narrow the lane for cars, they do slow down, even though they don't even realize they are slowing down. That makes it safer for everybody. It's basically that. And again, 30-year resident, but this is not for 30-year residents. This is for the people who will be here 30 years from now. We're trying to move the whole culture away from cars towards more, sustainable modes of transportation. And it's happening. There are young residents in town who are embracing this movement. And I think it's great that the Township Committee is responding to those new initiatives. Anyway, that's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Rob?
Are there any other Robs or me?
Rob Howley.
Okay. Hey, I'm Rob. I live on Richmond, a few houses off of Parker. I'd like to open by saying that I support complete streets redesigns around Maplewood. This is especially true on a road with high crash history. Pedestrians, people on bikes hit and run, cars on lawns, stuff that we've kind of normalized in a way that seems insane. You add in access to schools and the overall high utility of the road because, yeah, there are other east-west roads, but this one is much longer. It's kind of a no-brainer. And as a parent of an infant at the Y, I ride regularly for drop-off. I see you riding also. And I welcome all safety improvements because I'm out there on the road. I'd rather not get hit. Complete streets benefits all road users, something that I don't think got enough emphasis. By making the streets safer for pedestrians and bikes, you're also making it safe for drivers when you slow them down. For this project in particular, some of the details I really like, the bike boxes and flex posts by the high school, terrific. I'd like to see some flex posts leading up to the intersection with Prospect, even just like the equivalent of like daylighting distance, maybe 10 feet or so, to make sure that the bike lane doesn't turn into a passing or turning lane. And to those that are saying that the paint only sections aren't safe enough, yeah, I agree. But instead of abandoning the concept, why don't you join me and many others in asking the township to make it safer, not abandon the concept completely. Moving east along the project, I think it's baffling that the bike lane stops between Burroughs and Burr. Makes it more dangerous because at the highest volume times, you're forcing cars and bikes to weave across one another for parking and riding. That's I think everyone who proposes the design should be forced to ride it once, and that's how I feel about that section. It's terrible. And then a kind of meta point on this, like I say, homeowners, nonprofits, schools, places of worship, etc., don't own the road. Prioritizing the parking interests of an individual landowner makes no more sense than me personally declaring the curb in front of my house a no car zone. People of Parker, if you want to park in front of my house, come on over. I don't own it. Public roads serve the public good. Over a decade ago, Maplewood passed a complete streets ordinance. How much traffic violence has happened since then? Is our local government taking any responsibility for it? They should. But instead of taking responsibility for it, we're carving out sections of this plan for what? Parking, make a couple people that are unhappy a little bit happier for their landscaper. This is ridiculous. If we're gonna call ourselves a progressive, green, and family-friendly town, then we need to stop prioritizing cars above all else. The many hundreds of bike bus families. I lead the Marshall one. It's great. All the people who emailed in for the Safe Routes to School campaign 18 months ago, those are the critical mass ride and support this project know that we need to do things a little differently now. It's time that our streets reflect it.
Please wrap up, Rob. Thank you. Rosemary?
Okay. All right, you can hear me now and see me. I've said many times before that Parker Avenue, no matter what block it's on, is too narrow the street to safely have bike lanes on both sides of the street without it being a very dangerous place for bikers and cars. We now have, and as you know, I actually took pictures of big trucks and buses coming down Parker Avenue. And when they are on Parker Avenue, there is not enough room for a 5-foot bike lane. And that is what you're saying that you are designating for the bike lane without the actual parallel lines in between that usually are used with bike lanes and traffic. With that being said, it almost ensures that when a big truck or New Jersey Transit that's now practicing on Parker Avenue or any other kind of big vehicle meets a bike lane, you're almost asking for an accident to happen. There's simply not enough space, and that happens to be a fact. I don't want to see people hurt because we're trying to put bike lanes that extend from one part of the town to another portion of the town in without really extending the study. I would like to see a study too, to see how many more bikers will come down Parker. Somebody said they've been here 30 years, 2 more years, I'm here 50 years. And I can tell you on any given month or any given year, I've not even seen 100 bikers on Parker Avenue. And I don't think we're going to get that many more on Parker Avenue with the kind of traffic we're seeing. Now, what I have seen in my times of living here is more traffic, heavier traffic. Unless you're going to tell the people who drive their big cars and their big vehicles, and now New Jersey Transit, not to use Parker Avenue, how are you then safely saying that Parker Avenue is a safe place for a bike lane when you know you have this really heavy traffic that's now consuming our small street? I was hit by a biker. It was a motorbiker, and it was on the corner of Parker and Prospect. That biker went around 2 cars, saw me turning, smashed into me, and caused a lot of damage. Most of you know, you've heard this before. I said I go to pain management 3 times a week. Well, now I'm down to finally 2 times a week. So I'm getting better. But what I'm trying to say too is the bikers that use it also need to use caution. How are you going to patrol this? I really feel that this whole idea needs more study. We do have streets in our town that are probably better suited for a bike lane if we need a bike lane. I also understand that now our town is overly populated, and the idea of having bike lanes and encouraging people to use bikes instead of cars is a way to maybe deal with the overpopulation, the number of cars that are there. But it should be done on streets that can accommodate this. And that certainly is not Parker. And I don't think we need to practice doing something that may affect people's lives. And the studies that have been done on towns, not suburban areas like Maplewood. I'd like to see some studies on suburban areas, not towns, that show that these bike lanes are supposedly going to work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Julia?
Hi, thank you for sharing so much information with the public about the bike lane and the plans of how you're going to handle it. I have a few questions. One is between Burr and Burroughs, where I understand you're planning to have sharrows to retain parking there. Currently, there is a sign that says no parking that covers half of the block. The design that you showed shows adding a parking space back into that area where there is no parking permitted. So just wanted to make sure that the engineers are aware of that, and because I assume that the no parking for half the block is to make it safer approaching the 4-way stop. So we want to maintain that safety. And also to point out that, that block is only a block away from an elementary school and in front of a preschool. And that last bit where you're approaching school and there's, more traffic congestion and more people getting to school in all different ways, including kids on bikes, is exactly where you want to have the safest approaches, not the least safe approaches. I also was kind of surprised to see that you're going to have 11-foot driving lanes when you know that 10-foot driving lanes would be safer and are perfectly acceptable with the state standards. Because that would give, either another foot of bike lane or 1 foot to have some buffer between the bike lane and the driving lane. And then, I also thought that we were going to hear more about the CHS drop-off plan today because I heard some about it from the engineering meeting, and it's really exciting to have a closed school street in front of the school and see how that's all going to work. So I think the public is curious to see how that's going to work, and I also hope that you will be reaching out to the South Orange officials and also the South Orange residents who live on Academy and on Hickson, since the traffic flows will affect them as well. And finally, there's a lot of conversation here about, do bike lanes make streets safer? Are they actually part of a complete streets approach? And there's a plethora of research out there that shows that they are, and it would be great for the townships to help spread that word to our residents, and because I think it's more credible when it comes from the townships. And people here say they believe in science, so if we share studies, then maybe they will believe it. Okay, and
Thank you, Julia. Martha?
Hi. Like someone who spoke before, I'm speaking again because I am opposed to the bike lanes. I want to say that I was a little afraid to speak out at this meeting because I noticed a few months after the last meeting, there was a video clip of me posted on Instagram that had been conveniently edited to say exactly the opposite of what I said. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen again. And I kind of want to remind people to stay civil and stay neighbors, and that there's absolutely no reason to vilify each other just because we have differences of opinion. My primary concern is backing out of my driveway into a biker. That's it. That is my primary concern. And the reason for that is that it is for any, I'm the one who wrote the letter to Village Green inviting all of the town council members to back out of my driveway during any number of the
guys.
busy times of the day on Parker Avenue. It can take a really long time to find a break in traffic. And because bikers do not move at the same speed as cars, those breaks may no longer be available, which is just going to lead to unsafe kind of scooting out of driveways. And there are driveways, as someone said, Vic, the street you showed us seemed to have far fewer houses and therefore far fewer driveways. There's multiple driveways on every block. I have already dealt with, I'm happy to do it, dealing with trying to make sure that it's safe for pedestrians, for people walking on the sidewalk, for people walking their dogs, and for people driving on the street. I think if we add bikers, it's going to be much more difficult to do that and to turn on and off of Parker. We had an accident at the corner of Richmond and Parker just this weekend that seemed to be people turning in opposite directions onto Richmond Avenue. And I'm interested. We've asked a lot of questions here, and I'm wondering when the answers are coming. I understand that, when people ask 5 questions, you can't answer all of them right now, or we'd be on the phone till tomorrow. But I would like to know when the answer to the questions that the residents asked are going to be here. And in particular, we were promised a plan for CHS. I also had kids who went to the Y. I also had kids who went to CHS. And I had kids who went to Clinton when we were told where not to park, but not where to park. So we really need a plan that tells people what to do, not just what not to do, or we're going to have the backups that, worse backups than we already have. And again, I would just like to say that I think the concerns of most of the people who live on Parker Avenue is the safety of the bikers themselves and not the inconveniences. And please don't edit that to be the opposite. Thank you.
Thank you. We have somebody on on an iPhone.
Hi, this is Carmen. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Good. I won't have my picture taken for the very reasons Martha mentioned about the use of others people's pictures on Instagram, and which I find totally outrageous. So my points are that bike lanes are also being removed in other towns like New York, Boston, Denver. And these are protected bike lanes that have clear barriers between a bicyclist and a car. I have a question for Mr. Downey. Mr. Downey, the map that you provided at several of the meetings shows that the width of Parker between Boyden and Valley is 31 feet. If you put in 10 feet lane for each side and 5 feet on either side, my question to you is, what is the width of the dividing line between a several ton vehicle and a bike lane? And I understand from previous meetings that you said that these type of projects are your bread and butter. So I am sure that Dynamics has an interest in getting these bike lanes put in. Okay, so that's that. So I would like a question as to how you're going to, how Dynamics is going to prevent, or what kind of barrier will be placed on those streets. The widest street is from Irvington to Boyden, and yet you have Sharrows. If this goes into effect, which many think will, put Sharrows throughout Parker, so that on the days that we have, the holidays, vehicles are on guard that there will be bikes on the road. The other thing is, I'm hearing from the advocates of bike lanes, and again, we are not against bike lanes. We just think on Parker is the wrong place to put them. There are so many alternatives, and they're not being considered. Advocates of bike lanes are saying Parker is too dangerous. What makes you think a narrow lane will protect the bicyclist? Even on Prospect, I have seen cars speed through those bollards. They've learned to negotiate it at very high speeds, and I'm behind them, right? I'm going my 20, 25 miles because I don't want to knock down one of these, and these cars are just zooming by. So don't think that bollards are really going to reduce speeds, because people will know how to negotiate. And finally, I am very disappointed that this committee, after 150 days or whatever days you mentioned of bike lane discussions, you still have not come up with a plan for Columbia High School and spoken to the Board of Ed and the parents and the administrators there. And we are already June 24th. They have probably gone on vacation. My recommendation to this committee is that you postpone this decision until the fall. There seem to be a lot of people on here that have a lot of questions, and there's no way that you're going to be able to answer these questions by July 15th to make a reasonable decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Axel?
Hi, good evening. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Hi, thank you. So yeah, my name's Axel. I'm a Maplewood resident. I live in the Hilton neighborhood. I use the bikes. I bike everywhere. Some of you can probably see me in my trailer. I've been biking for 5 years now. Everywhere I go, it's my commute that I use to go to work. It's my commute I use to drop my kids off, my two kids, either at school or preschool. We have a trailer. I bike on Springfield Ave. I bike on Prospect. I bike on Parker. I bike on Valley. I bike on Maplewood. I bike to schools. I bike to parks, Memorial Park, Grove Park. I even biked all the way to Irvington Park. I do this because, for many reasons, I think it's better for the environment to bike everywhere. I think it's health. I keep a healthy body. It's fun. It's pleasurable. And we also only have one car, so I have to bike. We actually don't have a choice. Man, I bike 5 days a week. I bike when it rains, when it snows, because I have to sometimes. So I support the bike lanes. I was thinking, oh, I should get studies that show bike lanes make streets safer, but I was like, that's like getting studies that show seatbelts improve safety. It's like obvious, right? Um, uh, the uh, the suggestion that streets are busy, Parker's busy, Prospect's busy, yes, but some people are biking there anyway. So accidents will happen. That's sort of what happens when you drive and when you bike and when you use pedestrians. And you have pedestrians. So studies show that adding bike lanes are safer. Even adding those, I do think some more of those delineating posts could be helpful, even when you added them on Prospect. I was safer. I felt safer going on the one side of them. But all this just say that I support bike lanes. I use them 5 days a week. I hope once the kids get older, learning to bike, that they will use them too to bike to school. And I would like bike lanes in those places. All the reasons for maybe not being safe already exist without the bike lanes. So why not add the bike lanes to make it a little safer? And hopefully 10 years down the road, we have bike lanes, or 15 years down the road, we have bike lanes on Prospect, on Springfield, on Boyden. I bike down Boyden, I go to the community pool. Maybe we have them everywhere, and Maplewood and South Orange become a bike-friendly town that shows how much it's possible to change the culture of driving in a suburban area. So I support it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Nick?
Hi, so I'd actually like to say thank you for a lot of the pragmatic improvements that I saw with the plan just earlier today, like eliminating the defined bike lanes between Boyden and Irvington. I think that was probably a big relief for a lot of the people who have to park on Parker Avenue. But I do still maintain my position that I am against these bike lanes. I'm not going to bore you guys rehashing what a lot of other people have said. I agree with most of what people have said in regards to this just not being a good street for them. I think that there are other streets like Elmwood where bike lanes would be better suited. We've heard a lot of anecdotes here tonight. A lot of people have said that they use Parker for biking, whether it's pick up their kids from school or something else. I mean, I'm sure these people are, speaking to their experiences, but from everything I've seen, the hard numbers just do not support that there are so many people biking down Parker Avenue to support this plan. And quite frankly, going back to what I said about this just not being a great place for bikes, I think a place like Elmwood, just to give an example, which connects Memorial Park and the pool, could be a better place. I just don't think that so many more people are going to actually end up using theoretical bike lanes on Parker Avenue. And then just to, I guess, wrap it up, because it's been thrown around here, if there is a hair of doubt in the minds of anyone whose decision this is to make about whether or not bollards should be put anywhere outside of just in front of the high school, I will say that because not too many other people have mentioned it, that would eliminate so many of those pragmatic improvements that have been mentioned. You wouldn't be able to have delivery people in front of your house. It would cause issues with pulling over for emergency vehicles. It would just be a lot of problems. And I think that Parker Avenue residents would need to see a lot from their town in terms of how they're going to fix these problems. They might not be front page things. They might not go, on the first page of your resume, but these are things that we have to live with. And I think that it is really the duty of the people who run this town to make sure that our voices are heard. Thank you.
Thank you. Brian?
Hey guys, sorry, in my basement. Probably can't see my face. Hold on. There we go. There I am. Hi everyone, Brian Herrick here. really blurry. Sorry about that. Well, I'm here. I want to say that I'm in support of these bike lanes. I appreciate how much work has gone into this. The committee putting in the time to do the research, to get the professionals to give their input on what we can do here. So we're in a position where the street was identified as something that needs to be improved. Professionals came in and they told us what we need to do. We got feedback from the community. They tweaked their plan, and here it is. So if a pipe bursts in my house, I'm gonna get a plumber to fix it. I'm not gonna ask someone that is not a plumber to fix it. If I have something, if I need surgery, I'm gonna ask a doctor to do it. I invite everyone to support this plan. Come out with us, bike with us. I bike with my kids all the time. It's really fun. It's a better way. Let's get out of our cars. Let's get back into our communities. Let's see each other when we're going to Stop and Shop and going to the pool and going to the Y, and make these streets the complete streets that the people and the kids and the residents of these towns deserve. Thank you, and sorry about my camera.
Thank you. Christina? You're on mute.
Hi. So I've been listening to this whole evening and looking at the proposal. I live at West Parker in Denell, and I can tell you exactly what the traffic flow is. Exactly every morning. I can tell you when kids are dropping off their parents are dropping off their kids to the Y, when they're done, the high school kids go by. So I have a really good sense of the ebb and flow. Sometimes this road is completely backed up all the way almost to Maplewood. Sometimes it's a country road. My concern is that what I'm hearing is that if you build it, they will come. If you build a bike lane, of course, we're going to get more people to use it. But is West Parker, I don't think you can build it until you deal with the congestion and with traffic speed calming. The road is not wide enough or cannot accommodate the two safely. I see delivery trucks. I see, this is the best one. I see trucks hit the train trestle at least 2 or 3 times a month. So there's just traffic on this road that makes the bike lane and going up and down Parker really at heads. I do feel that traffic calming needs to be looked at. And I'm 100% behind what I'm hearing from other residents saying, get on your bikes, get out, let's, be with your kids, go to ShopRite, get on your bike, get off, out of your car, 100%. But I don't feel that Parker is the place to start unless we can slow down the traffic to accommodate the bikers. And that is just my perspective and part of what I've been picking up from these conversations. So then,
Hey, thank you.
you're welcome.
The gentleman on the iPhone with the blue shirt on. Looks like you're in the backyard.
Am I that guy? Am I the gentleman in the blue shirt?
You are. You're the gentleman in the blue shirt.
All right. Well, thanks for letting me talk. My name's Tom Pardo. I live on Parker Avenue. I've been listening to what folks have been saying, and I don't want to repeat what people have said who oppose the bike lanes. I oppose the bike lanes as well. There's an article in the Village Green some time ago that seemed to imply that the township committee was gauging opposition to the bike lanes by the numbers of people that came to these meetings and spoke up. And I just want to point out that many people, including myself, have been unable to come to these meetings because of work and other things. And I just want to, refer the township committee to the petition that's now been signed by, I believe it's over 260 people, primarily residents on Parker Avenue or these side streets that are going to be, most heavily affected by the bike lanes if they come to fruition. I just, once again, people talk about it's not anti-bike lanes, but Parker Avenue is really not a good place for it. And to the extent that this is an attempt to try to slow traffic with putting people on bicycles in the street, without some kind of a physical barrier, that does sound like a disaster. And then if you end up with a physical barrier, that's frankly going to radically change the character of the street that I live on. And, obviously that matters, at least to me, in addition to all the other concerns. That's why we have various zoning laws and everything to keep the town looking a certain way and feeling a certain way. And so in addition to everything else that's been talked about, I just want to add that as well. And just hope that the township committee takes a look at that petition that's been signed. And I just hope the township committee is aware that the opposition for the bike lanes, at least by the people who live on Parker Avenue and the side streets that are going to be most heavily affected, is very broad and very deep. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The two Roberts spoke already, so you're going to wait to the end. We have
I didn't
Lauren.
speak. I didn't speak.
Oh, you didn't speak. Okay, sorry. Robert Marshall spoke. Okay.
Yeah.
Robert, you're next. But we have Robert, Lauren, D. Morales, Aditi, Kia, Earl, Martin, and Susie, and that's it. And then Robert, you'll come after Susie. Robert Marshall. Okay. Robert B.
Okay.
And
Thanks.
please keep it to 2 minutes.
Okay, I'll try. So my name's
I'll
Rob
help
Belest. My name's Rob Belest. I live in Hilton. I'm from a one-car household, and I ride my bike to the train station to commute to my job. Recently, my 5-year-old son learned to ride a bike, and he's been begging me to ride him all around town. And he'll soon be riding across town to Dealey Bolden for kindergarten next year with the bike bus. So safer streets in our town is sort of front of mind for me. And I've been following this project closely, and I learned that at the outset of this study, the township recorded 150 crashes on this section of Parker between 2019 and 2024. So this is the reason the township has consulted experts to see what kind of positive change they could make. And the measures that are in the plan that they developed follow national best practice, and they're proven to lower speeds, crashes, and injuries for all road users, including drivers, cyclists, and pedestrians. So everyone would benefit from this plan. In addition to all the parents you've heard say they bike their kids down Parker to the YMCA, but all the pedestrians, families with small children walking to school, students walking to school, and everyone living on Parker would be able to enjoy reduced car speeds and a sense of a safer neighborhood. And I know that this same team, Vic and the engineers, they put a dead end on my street on Lexington a couple years ago, and that's really improved. So I personally know what it's like to see the town acting and creating positive change for safer streets. So I commend everyone at the township level for pursuing this project and including everybody in the design process and showing care for the safety and well-being of our residents. And I hope that the township proceeds with this plan and keeps developing safer streets plans across the town. Thank you.
Thank you. Lauren?
Hi, so I am in support of the bike lanes generally. I live in South Orange, so I won't be directly affected by the implementation of the bike lanes, but I support it as an environmentalist. I would like to see a bike culture be incentivized in our community. And I wanted to speak because I spent 6 months in Spain where I biked very regularly, but here I bike on very rare occasions because it's not really incentivized here. It's scary. It doesn't really feel safe. And I just want to point out that something that made me feel safe when I was biking in Valencia, Spain, was that sometimes the bike lanes were on the sidewalk. They were part of the sidewalk. It was like there was a sidewalk for the pedestrians, and then there was the bike lane. And it just felt nice to not be right next to the cars. So I was just wondering if that was an option, a potential option for the bike lanes to be part of the sidewalk, so they're not directly next to the cars. And I also my experience when I was in Spain was it would be a little nerve-wracking when the bike lanes ended. And I was just wondering like what is happening at the end of the bike lanes. They just it would be a little confusing when I didn't realize the bike lane was ending and I had felt like I had nowhere to go. And yeah, so I was wondering what the plan is for that. Yeah, thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you. D. Morales.
Okay. Hi, it's me. I'm Danny Morales. I live up here in Maplewood, in the Tuscan neighborhood. My parents are moving to the new Gleason building on Parkwood, and I I am in support of the bike lanes on Parkwood, and I am a urban designer and accredited planner as my background. So if I want to kind of put on my um master plan design hat on, I will have assess the overall master plan, and I believe there's one bikeway master plan from 2010. 2010 I was in college, so that was a long time ago. And the best time to introduce the bike lane was yesterday. The next best time is tomorrow. And within the 30-foot section of the Parkwood Avenue, typically you would want a 10-foot travel lane. Those are the kind of the sweet point of what is the safest dimension for the travel lane. So 20 feet for both travel lanes is what most emergency vehicles need, and as well as buses, so it's wide enough for what they need, and the resulting space is not enough for parking. 5 feet is not adequate. Usually parking lanes need 7.5, so that kind of takes out the argument of parking. And those studies have demonstrated that there's not many people parking on Parker. So having that visual narrowing of the Parker Avenue with 10-foot travel lanes and the resultant space to be allocated for the bike lane is what I would do as a urban planner and urban designer. So I think that's what I have.
Okay, thank you. Aditi?
Yep. Hello. So this is Aditi. I'm a resident of Parker, been here for 1 year now. And my husband and I are opposed to the proposed bike lanes in their current form. I won't repeat all the thoughtful points that have already been made, but I do want to reemphasize one thing. Adding bike lanes to a high traffic street like Parker before taking real steps to slow down cars just doesn't feel safe. I appreciate that the town is listening and engaging and creating new plans. But it still feels rushed, and we should first demonstrate that we can calm traffic before putting lives, especially children's lives, at risk. And I say this because I live next to a new stop sign on Parker. It has blinking lights. There's a neon yellow sign that says new, and I still see so many cars just blow right through it. So I know that's anecdotal, but it just feels like a clear sign that more needs to be done. And if we are serious about making this a bike-friendly town, I just strongly agree that we should get the foundation right first.
Thank you. Kia?
Hi, good evening. I do want to start out by saying that I know we've been in conversation with the city for some time now, and I do appreciate that we have been heard, adjustments have been made, and things have been taken into consideration. So I do want to at least give that credit. I agree with what everybody else is saying. I think that this is somewhat misguided in terms of thinking about how do we approach this? I do think the idea that putting people next to cars is the best way to calm traffic is kind of strange to me. I know that is a common thing that's happening, trend that's happening right now. But again, like Carmen said, we are seeing cities retract these ideas because they have shown, which is why I was the one that asked for the evidence. They have shown that over time, it actually, the cost benefit ratio isn't favorable, right? So I think that we definitely have to consider that. The other thing that I do want to follow up on, though, is that there have been a lot of questions asked. And I'm curious, Vic and Patrick and whoever else is listening, when we will get answers to these questions. That's my question. When will we get answers to these questions? That's what I would like to hear that addressed right now, if possible.
I would like to answer some of these if we can get through the speakers.
Okay,
So,
excellent.
if all the
Excellent.
speakers want to take a little, shave a little time off, we can get to them.
Excellent. That's what I like to hear. Okay, thanks.
Earl?
Yes, how are you? I'll try to keep it short, but I have two things. First of all, I wonder if your engineers have considered a traffic obstruction that they may not be aware of. I live on West Parker between the railroad trestle and Maplewood Avenue. And quite often, you'll find a large box truck turn off Maplewood Avenue down West Parker toward the trestle and then see the sign and know they can't make it underneath. Some people don't and they get stuck. But I would say several times a day, the people will back the truck up and make a reverse K-turn, backing into Buckingham Gardens and going back up again to Maplewood Avenue. That's a very dangerous thing, and it happens several times a day. And I don't know if your people know about that. Second of all, I wanted to ask you, did I understand you right that a resident can ask for a permit to park on West Parker and park there on either or both sides?
No. No, you'd be able to park on a side street.
All right, thank you. All right, that does it for me. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Martin?
Hi, I'm Martin Separately, resident of Parker Avenue. I won't go into a long spiel here, but you can read the story about the bike bus we started in yesterday's Village Green. We started that about 9 months ago. It was a small change to start a weekly bike bus. It's grown into a movement with 400 local families. And with that small change it grows into big opportunities. So what we're looking for the township to do here is create an opportunity for the kids growing up now. For 20 years from now, 30 years from now, we're going to have a bike-friendly town. And it might not make sense to everybody to put our first bike lane on Parker Avenue, but the vision is to have a bike lane on every major thoroughfare in Maplewood. And we're looking for the township committee to make that happen. I think you have to make a bold choice here. We can't have endless community meetings. We can't keep chopping up the bike lane. We can't cut it off at Boyden Avenue. We don't want a block gap of the bike lane on Burr Road. So yeah, I think the township committee really needs to think about what this means for the town 30 years from now when we're going to have a safe, accessible town. Our town's only 4 square miles large. There's no reason you need to drive for a mile and a half. There's absolutely no reason. So let's actually be a green town, not just in words, but in practice. And let's just make this happen so we can move on to more bike lanes. Thanks.
Thank you. Susie?
Hi, everyone. My name's Susie McCarthy, and I'm proud to say that I am a new member of the Maplewood community. I moved here over 5 years ago, and I was drawn to the intentional nature of this community. I looked at many different places before choosing to settle here to raise my child. I noticed that people seem to really care about each other, and I love that there seemed to be a commitment to building a better community together. However, I've noticed almost from day one that that seems to get thrown out the window when we drive. And that concerns me. I see that in the attitudes of other drivers and also some of the comments that I see here in this call, really prioritizing what we're doing with cars, where we can park, delivery drivers, etc. I bike and I run, and I've narrowly escaped being hit in many cases. The other day I was walking in the crosswalk to drop my son off at daycare on Valley. I was honked at for being in the crosswalk. We seem to have a general lack of safety knowledge in this town, or awareness or interest in protecting each other when we're not in cars. I can give you a laundry list of issues that this town has around safety. It's huge, from lighting to sidewalks to where the stop signs are, etc. A bike lane is not going to solve probably much of anything. However, it is a start. And putting it on Parker is a bold start. I live right off of Parker. I'm on one of the side streets. Bring on the extra parking. I am very happy to host you. It is a signal that shows that the township is serious about moving this forward. It gives visibility to the cyclist. It says you belong on the road. So the next time someone tries to cut me off when I have my 3-year-old on the back of the bike, it gives me some confidence that says, no, I get to be here too. I'm a cyclist. I get to be here. I'm dismayed about the attitude that's being taken by my fellow residents, which says that because this isn't a magic bullet, we shouldn't do it. So I do agree that this is an unsafe driving culture within Maplewood. I think it stands in stark contrast to many of our other values, and I would love to see us really change that. But I also want to say that all these things can be true. It's not, we have to address this safety culture so we can't do the bike lane. Let's do all of it. Let's have a strong Vision Zero proposal and goal that sets milestones, even every month, as to what we're going to do. Awareness campaigns. Let's let people know about the existing state laws. Let's try to enforce it. We can do all these things together, and we can have great ambitions as a community in Maplewood that we can stand out and say, this is what a suburb can look like in 2025, and attract people in, just like we do for many other reasons. Thank you for your time.
Great. Thank you, Susie. Joan and Ned and Eric, you jumped on after I said we were going to end it with Susie. I'll give you a little time, but please make your points. Joan.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
My main concern with this proposal is that the bike lanes are not protected. Having a grandchild who is part of a bike bus that goes on Parker, I'm concerned that this is going to give the children and other bikers a false sense of security. As a pedestrian, I know that cars frequently will pass on the right if they see a car stopped in front of them. And if it's a bike lane that's on the right, I'm afraid someone on the bike is going to get hit.
Okay, thank you. Ned?
Hi, Ned, Maplewood resident, Bolden Bike Bus leader, longtime biker, just got a bigger bike because we got a third kid and I can fit all 3 of them in there. And I love the bike lane. I think it's a great idea. I'm super excited to see it. I'll keep it short. I think Susie did an amazing job. I second all of her points, but this is really exciting. I think it's really exciting for the town, and biking is a great way to get around, and Parker is a main avenue, and bikers as well as walkers, and same as cars, have a right to the fastest way to get between all the great parts of our great town. So this is a great addition, and I'm really excited to see it take shape.
Thank you. Eric?
Hello, we're Parker residents, and what's being addressed, it seems to be the pedestrian safety. We'd like to see that more addressed. I know I've talked about that before, but I just don't feel like it's safe on Parker. And I do think that the traffic calming on Prospect with the bollards has really helped the flow of traffic. And it seems like since the revisions, the concessions have been made to kind of parking and cars, but nothing for pedestrians. And I think bike lanes or not, I support making Maplewood a more bike-friendly community. We've been here 7 years, And we've seen a lot more traffic on the roads and less parking downtown and by the train as well. And we're a growing community and we have a finite amount of space. And I just think that encouraging biking is just this natural step that we need to take as a community. And Parker seems like a great street because it connects to both South Orange and Maplewood downtowns and trains and all this, it's too dangerous. I feel like just throwing up our hands saying it's too dangerous is just the wrong way to look at this. And I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you. Robert Marshall. Just give us some
Hi.
new stuff.
Just throw in some new stuff.
Yeah.
Come on. I just want to be clear because I think that there is a lot of false equivalency that's happened in this conversation that I really want to clarify, right? We've talked about we all want safer streets. We all want greener streets. We want in 15 years Maplewood to be a place where people cycle from place to place. We want traffic calming. Everyone wants that. Even the people on Parker Avenue. So why are all the people on Parker Avenue up in arms? Is because there is nothing in this plan that makes it safe for the bikers. Once again, body count. And the reason I'm passionate about this is because I have 2 kids, 5 and 7, and they will never cycle on Parker because it's not safe. So is there even an idea of phasing? Could we have a phase 1 where we prove that we can slow down the traffic and then put in a bike lane? So we say, okay, traffic calming first and then a bike lane? Could we put bike lanes on other streets that are less dangerous? I still don't understand where the false equivalencies have come together that mean we need a bike lane on this street with no protection for the bikers and it's going to be okay. Like, I don't see that false equivalency being answered. When will it be answered, please?
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to address a couple of the comments. I'm going to ask Patrick Downey and Paul Kittner to talk about why both of you are recommending Parker. Some people think we just picked it. I think both of you have expressed in previous meetings why Parker as part of our complete streets. So first I want to talk about the Columbia High School plan. So we have been working on this at the Engineering, Public Works and Planning Committee for a number of meetings now, and off meeting, trying to figure out, we've been down there doing visual observations, and we've come up with a plan that it's going to make Kensington and North Terrace one way off of Parker. It's going to make Academy one way towards Parker. And we think that's going to be a better flow of cars. No cars will be able to stop on Parker to drop off kids. No cars will be exiting from Kensington or North Terrace and creating a difficult situation there and making lefts or rights, doing K-turns on those streets. So that's the plan. We're fine tuning some of the flow of traffic. And we have, someone mentioned we haven't met with the principal. We have met with the principal and talked with the principal about our plans. We are going now to meet with both the principal and the district and the parent council to get more fine tuning and be very explicit about what we want to start in September, regardless of whether we put the bike lanes in or not. As far as picking Parker and leaving the rest of the town out, that's not correct. We have a bicycle network. We have, over the years, talked about prioritizing the connection of the parks, and we continue to do that. Parker allows us to do some of that, but we are looking at ways in which we can both plan now and plan for the future to create bike lanes in some of the side streets to do that. Okay, so I want to ask Patrick Downey and Paul Kittner why you think Parker is the, as someone said, the optimal street.
So I think I could talk briefly on this, and then I could also ask Pat to say a few words. So first of all, in my prior presentations, we kind of went through the reasons we picked Parker. It's a collector street. It connects numerous points and parks and various collector roads as well. So, you know, you need bike lanes where it's unsafe currently. If people are using it right now, which they are, you need bike lanes to try to improve on that safety. And people are using them. You know, I think Pat will go into a little more detail, but you know, some additional data was collected, and I believe the number was 90 cyclists were using this over a 12-hour period that when they measured this. We also have kids and students going to you know, the high school. So people are using it now. Complete Streets comports with all the DOT requirements, all right, and guidance that they've provided since 2010. And you know, Parker Ave serves a purpose of connecting a lot of different points of interest. So, you know, I just want to speak briefly too about some of the concerns. You know, Parker Ave, this project isn't just a bike plan, it's a traffic calming project too. It's also a pedestrian safety project. Okay, we're improving greatly, enhancing crosswalk striping, adding rapid flashing beacons, restricting parking for better sight distance, improving the drop off at the school. It's a comprehensive plan that addresses multiple safety concerns at once. I understand people's trepidation in terms of trying something new. I totally understand that. I want to thank everyone who came out tonight. It's incredible that our community has so many people that are dynamic and engaged in our township. It really is inspiring. Pat, do you want to say a few comments on this? Why Parker? Why Parker?
Yeah, Paul, I generally echo everything you said. Just a couple points to really highlight. When looking at the map of the whole township, Parker's one of the longest, most connected and continuous east-west streets. Most of the longer, more continuous streets throughout the town are, you know, some of them are county roads. Of the township-controlled roads, it's one of the longest. It does provide good connectivity between some of those key destinations. School gets much closer to the train station, certain parks, etc. And in terms of, you know, a lot of safety discussions taking place tonight, really with two schools of thought. One being, you know, there are safety concerns, therefore it is the wrong location for bike lanes, or there are safety concerns, therefore it is the right location for bike lanes. An analogy I'd like to draw is when you think about pedestrian accommodations, there's many low volume, low speed residential intersections that don't have crosswalks, but on a street like Parker, of course you would want to provide formal striped crosswalks, high visibility ones at that. The locations where they need more protection is where we are proposing more protection in the form of dedicated bike lanes. Some of the lower volume, lower speed streets can accommodate bikes fine without them, and that's why we're not talking about them tonight. So yeah, for all the reasons you stated, and as we're discussed in some of the prior meetings, I think Parker's, you know, a good choice for an improvement such as this.
And Patrick, there was some talk about the width of the street being 31 feet. That doesn't work out. If you do 11, 11, 10, 10, I mean, 11, 11, 5, 5, that's 32, isn't it?
Yeah, it varies throughout. So certain blocks are as narrow as about 30, certain ones are wider, up to 34. So on the 30-foot blocks, yes, you're right. That's those locations I said at the onset where we were limited to 10-foot lanes because that's what's available once you have the 5-foot bike lanes. Where we have the ability to provide 11-foot lanes, we have done so. And then obviously the eastern section, if the parking is to be maintained, East Boyden, that's a little bit of a different treatment. Again, by maintaining the parking, you're limited to the 10-foot lanes.
Okay. Paul Kittner, we heard from Nancy on Briarcliff about the narrow street and the parking on both sides. So let's take a look at that, because if that's the case, we'd be concerned about getting emergency vehicles in there. So that's something we can take a look at.
Yes.
And you know, if necessary, prohibit parking on one side. We've done that in many other streets.
Happy to look at it.
And you know, the situation there, for example, in Briarcliff, if residents are parking there and there's no room for a person to park there, they're going to have to find space on another. On Martha, the issue of backing out of driveways, you know, I hear you. And what I'd like to do, Patrick, if we could think about it, is there something, and maybe the proponents of bikes, if we go through with this, you know, what are there physical measures we can take? Are there, is there some other type of action we can take to help people feel more comfortable getting in and out of their driveways? I want to mention, Craig, you asked a bunch of questions in the beginning. Below Boyden, we changed it, and it's really different there. You have the park there that, there's limited parking for the park. You have businesses down there. You have a church down there also. You have what was told to us in many different meetings is that there's more multifamily houses not only on Parker, but on the side streets. And oftentimes there's not driveways that are suitable for people to park cars side by side. They have to do tandem parking. So there's a lot of jockeying in and out. So that's why we treated that differently than the main part of Parker. Yes, the budget is about $275,000. It's in the capital budget. If we move forward, that is what we will be spending. There are no physical measures we are making. These are all most of it is striping, with the exception of signs. We're putting signs up. So it's signs and striping. Am I correct, Patrick and Paul?
And some additional curb ramps. So a little bit of concrete work at some intersections where crosswalks are missing and ramps need to be
Okay, we're crosswalks. So any new crosswalks, we would have to do that. We'd have to make it handicap accessible, but we're not putting there's no physical work. So if we did not do this, that money would stay in the capital budget. We might use it for other striping on Parker, because we are adding crosswalks. We are making just the fact that we're adding crosswalks helps to slow traffic down, because people see crosswalks, and it does help slow down traffic. We heard from a couple of people, 250 folks signed the petition. Tom, you kind of put that, sort of a little bit of a threat to us. Look, we're trying to make the best decision that we can. We've been working on this for 150 days. We're going to be discussing it again for another month, and we're going to be making the best decision we can. There's 5 of us. You empower us to make that decision. We take it with a lot of responsibility, and we're going to listen. We're going to look at all this stuff. We heard what was going on here tonight, and we're going to, again, make the best decision that we can. Patrick Weary, is there anything that you would like to add?
No, I think our engineers did a good job of explaining the basis for this plan. So no, nothing to add at this time.
Okay. I mentioned that we're not changing the cross streets to one way. I don't know. I'll open it up to any my colleagues on the township committee. If you felt we didn't answer a question, you want to make a comment?
Yeah, Vic, first of all, I appreciate your incredible thoroughness with not only tracking all the comments on all these meetings and sharing it with your colleagues, but basically running these meetings as the seasoned professional that you are in this. So I just want to say that I've talked to many professionals. I've worked within municipal government for the last 30 years. And I've never seen the amount of outreach as one person said to me. I would have just woken up and found bike lanes outside my house. Like this is a lot of input and effort, and it's intentional by Mr. DeLuca as chair of engineering and public works, and by the rest of the township committee to get as much input as we can and balancing that information with our professionals, our engineers, and our own as elected officials. And Mr. Kittner will totally verify this. I push back on him all the time because I've lived here 36 years. And so when we're talking about engineering projects, right, Paul? I'll push back.
That's right.
On that's not the way something works or something. So we seriously take all of your comments into consideration. And I give a lot of thought, as do my colleagues, on all of these issues and trying to balance everything. And by the way, not foreshadowing any vote because I don't know exactly what all my colleagues will vote. I'm not 100% sure where I'm going to vote. But like most things, especially something like this, nothing is irreversible. So, we deal with things all the time that we put in place and then we're like, this didn't work or this did work and we're glad we did it. Didn't work. So let's see how we can change it to make it work better. So anyway, I just wanted to say that, Mr. DeLuca, thank you for giving the opportunity and thank you for your guidance and leadership on all these meetings.
Mr. Daffis.
Thanks, Vic. I just want to encourage us to put out the information that we do have that supports this proposal, which continues to evolve based on the robust and thoughtful remarks we continue to receive from the community at large, including those who live along Parker. We do have studies about this. We have looked at it specifically on Parker. Mr. Kittner mentioned some of that in his remarks, and I think we should find a way to publish this so that the community can have a look for themselves, so that they can see that we're not just sort of waking up one day and deciding to put bike lanes on Parker, that this is supported by data and some of the studies that we've done already. I think that will go a long way, or a little more longer way, in building a better goodwill and understanding about where we are and how we got here. Thank you.
All right. So let's just go back to what we're going to be doing from here. We heard these comments. We are going to have another meeting of our Engineering, Public Works, and Planning Committee, 8 a.m. on Wednesday, July 9th. And then after that, on Tuesday, July 15th, there will be a Township Committee. That's our regular Township Committee. Again, it's in person at Town Hall, and it is on virtual. It'd be on Zoom. This will be on the agenda, so you'd be able to speak at the first public comment period because it's an agenda item. So you don't have to wait for the whole night. And after that, we'll have a vote whether to proceed or not to proceed. So with that, I want to thank everybody for coming out. And we will see you, I'm sure, at the next couple of meetings. Thanks very much.